I think if I've learnt anything during the last 8 weeks, it's been about Wales in particular and its problems and what these people feel about Wales. You see, I think they feel so strongly about Wales as a nation, and it means something to them, and they're depressed by, you know, what might happen to it if they don't try and preserve the language and the culture, which is very unique and special to Wales. And if something is unique and special, I see it's well worth preserving. I try and look upon it with a certain amount of sympathy. I mean, I think it's wrong to just, you know, say, you're wrong, you know, therefore I don't want to listen to you. I try and understand what they're getting at and why they're getting at it. I'm not sure that, I mean, the anarchists, I don't know. You see, all the things that makes me suspicious is the fact that the press are always there when the anarchists appear. Well, they nearly always seem to be anyway. And I have a feeling that they go and tell them that they're going to demonstrate or do something. And it's publicity they want, I suppose, quite naturally. Well, I feel that it is a very impressive ceremony. I know perhaps some people would think that it is rather anachronistic and out of place in this world, which is perhaps somewhat cynical. But I think it can mean quite a lot if one goes about it in the right way. I think it can have some form of symbolism. For me, it's a way of officially dedicating one's life, or part of one's life, to Wales. And the Welsh people, after all, wanted it. And I think also that the British, on the whole, tend to do these sort of ceremonies rather well. And for this reason, you know, it's done well, in fact. And I think it's been very impressive, and I hope other people thought so as well.
As patron of the college, I give myself a very hearty welcome.
So when I first heard about your invitation, I was naturally very flattered and grateful. And for a short while I held the wildly improbable notion that I would get a meal at the Guildhall without having to make a speech for it. I'd like to say how very delighted I am to be here this evening. I can say that in all consciousness because I didn't know I was going to be given a cheque for 5,000 for turning up.
I have one or two messages here which I would like to read to you. And I've been in a bit of a quandary as to quite what order to read them in. So I've arranged them in the sizes of the bits of paper they're written on. So there's no significance at all.
And I think roughly since we got engaged, there's been about 100,000 letters, which, I mean, I wanted to be able to take the opportunity to say how really, really grateful.
The importance of thinking, you know, about the long term in relation to, you know, the environmental damage, the climate change, everything else, because we don't really, in a sensible world, want to hand on an increasingly dysfunctional world to our grandchildren. That do we really have to face catastrophes and chaos before we understand that real action needs to be taken? And the difficulty with all that is that by the time you try to take the action, it's already too late. The climate scientists and others say that we're already on a path to a 4-degree rise. So we have to work very hard to get it back to 2. I mean, we're already seeing the Arctic melting. Bits of Antarctica are now, you know, dropping off and melting. You've got droughts and drying up forests in Brazil and elsewhere. And part of the problem of all the droughts now around Sao Paulo in Brazil is because of deforestation. You've got fires going on in huge areas of Indonesia and some in Colombia. So, of course, there are lots of optimistic, encouraging signs of all the right things being done. But the key, if I may say so, is if we don't get exactly what is wanted at COP21 in Paris, that the follow-on is even more energetic, and we bring in even more, which I try to do, the private sector and others to produce the necessary steps that we must have.